In 2006, NASA launched New Horizon mission to Pluto. So they sent out this robotic entity they call the Fender. As it moves along, it finds a row of control panels. And behind each control panel is this robotic entity. He said there were between 9 and 11 of these robotic entities, and they were all abandoned. It seemed to me they were abandoned.
Rick, what's the story behind Cronus 5's mission to Pluto in 2016?
Well, as we all know, in 2006, NASA launched New Horizon mission to Pluto. It took 9 years to get to Pluto. There wasn't going to be an orbit. It was just going to be a flyby. And during that flyby that lasted from June of 2015 to October 2016, New Horizon took almost 6,000 photographs of Pluto, plus some other electronic collection of data, weather, atmosphere, electromagnetic fields, and so forth. 168 of those photographs that New Horizon took were immediately classified.
Okay.
Why were they classified?
That's a good question.
They contain structures, and just above the ice sheets. As soon as NASA got these 168 photographs of a structure on Pluto, they carried them across the hall, the United States Secret Space Program, and said, hey, you want to go up to Pluto and check it out? And they said yes. So they planned a mission in 2016 to fly to Pluto. Now, Cronus 5 went along with 2 Sparrows, and inside each Sparrow, and this is something new, were these Earth-made robotic entities called fenders.
Fenders.
Yeah, fenders. And these fenders were robots that could operate outside in harsh environments.
Okay.
Now, remember, Pluto has a small atmosphere, but the surface temperature is about 250 degrees below Celsius. So that's pretty cold, you know. So even though they had spacecrafts where humans could survive in, they didn't want to subject the astronauts to that harsh environment. So that's what this mission had aboard Cronus 5.
So what are we really being asked to believe here? Not just that something unusual was seen on Pluto, but that there was a signal coming from inside the planet and structures built into the mountain near the ice fields. If that's true, what does that make this place? A shelter? A station? Something industrial?
And if access is through a thick rock-like slab rather than an obvious entrance, was that purely structural, or was privacy part of the design?
Exactly. The next question is, who builds a facility like that, and why here, such a harsh environment of all places?
Speaking of harsh places, Nate, any chance of turning up the heating in here? And it's not like you guys are on a budget.
They circled the planet. They picked up emissions, radio emissions, signal emissions coming out of the planet. So they know that there's something down there transmitting. Now, they found the structures. These structures were embedded, seemed like they were embedded into the mountain just north of the ice fields, and they were all reflective. That was easily to identify. That, you know, it's pretty dimly lit up there on the surface.
Yeah.
There's still some light, but very little from our sun. So their mission was to recon that. So they sent a Sparrow down to do that.
Okay.
The Sparrow lands, and they recon this area where these structures built into this cliff is. Once it lands, it was determined that it was not feasible for humans to exit Sparrow because of the harsh environment. Temperature is minus 260 degrees Celsius, and there's other factors, gravity, other factors. So they sent out this robotic entity they call the Fender.
Okay.
It's bipedal. It's extremely strong. It has all sorts of video cameras, power systems to operate. The cold doesn't affect it a bit. So the Fender goes up to this structure that is embedded into this mountain and tries to figure out how to open it.
Okay.
Eventually, it finds out how to open it. Now, my big question to Ben, was, what, this is alien technology. How did it find out? Oh, he said, we have techniques. So whatever that means. So anyways, it opens, a small opening occurs. And it was like a block of granite was moved to the side. Okay, it wasn't a door that opened. It was real thick rock, or he called it granite, similar to granite.
Like on this reflective part, the granite opened?
Right, yes. The fender went in. It was dimly lit, but there was some illumination inside this facility, a vast facility. The fender went in. Now, everything the fender's doing, the video feed is going back to the Sparrow, and then in sequence it's being relayed back to Cronus.
Okay.
So the astronauts know exactly what that fender is doing and can direct it. Now, the fender has an artificial intelligence that can operate on its own. It's programmed to do a mission, and that's going to do that mission. And now, but Sparrow astronauts still can control it if they want to alter that mission. Because that's something I asked him specifically is, okay, who controls that fender? And he explained it to me. It's a very advanced system that can operate independently if it has to. Anyways, as it enters, it has to illuminate the interior because there's only a dimly lit. I went in and there was different rooms, different chambers. As it moved across a wall, they noticed on the wall were these carvings in frames. As it moves along, it finds a row of control panels. And behind each control panel is this robotic entity. Now, there's no power on that was noticeable on the panels of this control panel. As the fender is videotaping these robotic entities, is as if they were wearing a fencer mask. You know what fencer, a mask a fencer wears.
Were they on? Were they doing something?
No, there was no power at all. They were not functional. There was no power to the inside of that building. I think he said there were between 9 and 11 of these robotic entities, and they were all abandoned. It seemed to me they were abandoned. There was flakes of something along the control panels, almost like dust, but larger flakes. So it was the astronaut, or the fender, the commander of the Sparrow is thinking that it's just an abandoned facility.
On a previous Cronus mission to Mars, they encountered robots in an underground facility. Were these robots on Pluto similar or the same type of robots?
The robots that were found on Mars are the exact same species of robot they found on Pluto.
Okay, wow, we're dealing with the same race. Okay.
We're dealing with the same race.
Here's what I want to know. If these robots really match the same kind reportedly found on Mars, are we looking at the same builders, the same supply chain, the same mission profile? Makes you wonder if this is some kind of galactic product distribution.
And if it is distribution, then what was being distributed? Labor? Surveillance? Extraction capability?
Well, Saren, you're better placed than me. What would your race use robots for?
If an environment is too hostile, too distant, or too valuable to gamble lives on, you send machines first. To build, to repair, to monitor, to mine. To keep a system running long after the people who made it have moved on. The more interesting question isn't why use robots. It's why leave them behind. Because that usually means one of two things. Either the job was meant to continue without you, or something happened that stopped you coming back.
So my question is, where did they go?
Was there anything operational inside the facility?
Not until he left. The fender moved, and I'm referring to him, but it, we'll refer
fair.
to it.
Yeah.
As it moved around, it found another exit point. As it moved towards the exit point, it saw a screen, almost like a television screen. It was like 1 meter by 3 meters or something to that effect. And there was a small dot moving across that screen.
Like just a plain white dot?
Just a white dot moving across that screen. Now, when that video feed was sent back to Cronus 5, the commander says, we need to find out what that is. Why is that on? Is it tracking something? Maybe it's tracking us. Maybe they're tracking us. Maybe it's a hostile. Those questions were relayed to a Sparrow, and Sparrow related to the Fender, programmed it to do some research. So the Fender actually removed that screen, didn't have any wires or any other connections, and brought it back to Sparrow. And that screen was then taken back to Cronus and taken back to Earth.
What'd they find out?
The ironic part of this is when they got it back to Area 51, it was still operating. That's the most amazing thing I heard. I said, well, it must be something internal doing it. Well, they can't find any wires or buttons or knobs. They can't take the thing apart because there's no screws or anything to take apart. Why is that still operating? Is it still tracking something? Or is it maybe the machine, and it's hard for us to understand this, but maybe the entity is in suspended animation. And maybe when they come back to reestablish that base on Pluto, all this would be turned on again. One thing I didn't say was while one Sparrow was exploring the caves on the ground, the second Sparrow was moving around reconnoitering the area.
Okay.
And what they found was a deep hole, a very deep hole. And along these holes were these tubes. And they weren't natural tubes. They were probably artificial tubes. And when that picture was taken back to Earth, somebody looked at it and said, that's a mining operation. So at some point in Pluto's history, and we might mean thousands of years, or we don't know, there probably was some sort of a mining operation on Pluto. What they were mining, we don't know.
Oh, I was going to ask, what is inside of Pluto that's so valuable for an ET race? Interesting. Okay. Is there anything else this Sparrow discovered while transversing Pluto?
A signal, radio signal.
A radio signal.
Another radio signal.
Okay.
So there was another location on the planet, not near where the caves were or the structures were embedded into this mountain, or where the mining operation might be occurring. Of course, they didn't realize it was a mining operation then. It was after they got back. But farther to the north of the planet, they found near another ice sheet, they found this signal that was being generated. Now, where's that going? Or why is that signal being generated? They don't know. But they gathered the frequency of that signal, and they could match that frequency with that particular extraterrestrial race that uses that frequency. But that was all done after they got back to Earth, when all the scientists got together to analyze all the data that Cronus 5 brought back.
This is where I start asking whether abandoned is even the right word. If a screen is still operating, if another area looks like a mining operation, and if there's a second signal somewhere else on the planet, then what exactly has ended here and what hasn't?
Yes. Dead civilizations are usually more considerate than this. They tend to stop broadcasting.
And if activity is still being detected,
What are we actually looking at? Ruins? Automation? Or the leftovers of a system that was built to run long after its makers were gone?
Sometimes, surface-based facilities are required to monitor the environment, and more so, the security of that location. We don't know that the whole operation isn't being run from somewhere underground. After all, there is a mystery signal, remember?
Absolutely, that's what I was thinking. Makes sense for a number of reasons. It's less visible and safer from the extreme conditions. For more on secret space programs, off-world claims, and the deeper disclosure story, check out Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia. There's a reason it's sort of the most talked about series in this space. Hit the link in the description and comments to watch.
Gaia, helping humans relax with the soothing thought that reality may be far stranger than advertised.